A very good morning to everyone joining us today.
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning, Sinazo.
I won't go into much detail on the application and the system. Our previous speakers, Jelka and Chrissy, have already touched on this, and I would like to believe that you have the information that you need to decide whether you apply for rating or not. However, if you are still unsure, you are welcome to contact the Research Office Director, Jane Roberts, and the DBC, Dr. Mzilikazi. For those who don't know me, Sinazo Peter from the Research Office, and I work closely with the Director and the DBC for the rating applications, but on a more administrative role. You can contact me for any challenges you have with registering on the system, with the actual application, and I'll try to do my best to assist. But if I can't, I will liaise with the NRF help desk on your behalf. So my presentation, I'm going to start with the internal review process. Currently, this is handled by our DVC, Dr. Mzilikazi, in consultation with Jane Roberts. So I've gone through some of the comments on the application submitted in the last round. And the common advice, or rather suggestion, that she's suggested on the applicants is that you include plans for, like student supervision, postdoc involvement in your research, as well as plans for collaboration. This will be under your ongoing and planned research section. There's also a narrative section, which Chrissy has already talked about. And she suggested that we also include the capacity building, but the collaborations as well as grants that you've acquired in the last 8 years. There's also the issue of whether you are ready to apply for rating or not. So one of the advice she has given to the applicants is that you wait for at least 2 to 3 years to apply for rating in order to build on your research output records. You are welcome to engage with her well before you apply to see if your record is on track and if you are ready to apply for rating or not. Jane Roberts is also available to advise on this. Before I move on, I thought it's important to mention that the DBC's recommendations are just recommendations. If you do decide that you want your application to go through to the NRF, without taking into consideration the recommendations, you are welcome to request that you submit your application to the NRF as it is. And also the DBC recommends a rating when we submit your application to the NRF, but the final outcome is decided by the reviewers and not the DBC. Okay, so on Wednesday, Jelka mentioned that as a rated researcher, you receive incentive funding. This is automatically awarded to you and you do not apply for it. Here I've put in a document that you get when you receive the award letter from the NRF. It will specify the values associated to the different rating categories. It's important to know that this is a once-off grant that you receive in the first year of your rating, and the carry forward of this grant to the following year is not allowed. So it means you have to spend the full grant in that 1 year, and any unspent funds will return to the NRF. So the NRF does give you an option to choose in which year you want the funds to be released within the rating cycle. But here at the research office, we encourage researchers to use this grant in the first year because RU supplements the funding with an internal grant from year 2 up until the last year of your rating. But I'm going to talk more about this in my next slide. So here I will see there's a list of things that you can use this NRF funding for, but I'm not going to go into detail. I will share my presentation with Sue and then she can forward this to you. But just to mention is we've got materials and supplies. You will see here they say computers and consumables, but only specialized computers. So they don't generally allow you to buy computers and laptops, but you have to motivate strongly if you require funding for this. And it's only for specialized computers and software for research-related purposes. There's travel and subsistence for you as a rated researcher and for your postgraduate students. This is to attend conferences, going to field trips, and to attend retreats and workshops. There is research and technical out of assistance, equipment. Again, equipment does not include laptops and computers unless they are specialized. There is funding for data management, sabbatical. The last one for supplementation for postgraduate scholarships. We have had issues in the past where researchers would want to use their NRF funding to support a student. But I'm going to ask Ujelka towards the end of my presentation to actually clarify this for us, because my understanding and our understanding in the research office is that this funding, the last point here, it means if you've got a student who is already funded by the NRF, then you can top up their scholarship with your NRF incentive funding grant. This is not specifically for a student who does not have a funding from the NRF. But I'll ask Ujelka to actually clarify this for us.
Oh, okay, Sinazo, yesterday we actually had a meeting about this, and then we realized that I think it was a mistake that you can top up any student, because it didn't make sense to top up the students that are already funded while we have the students that don't have any funding. So you can actually top up any student, whether it's
Okay.
funded or not. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good news, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Because we actually had a query yesterday about the new 2024 NRF grant, so I'll definitely be liaising with the researcher on this. Thank you. On this slide, this is the rated researchers grant that I mentioned, which only kicks in from year 2 of being rated. It is an annual grant that you receive from year 2 until the last. But it is important to note that this is not automatically awarded. The research outputs count is taken into consideration. But you can check this with the director, Jane Roberts, what the exact units are to qualify for this grant. And also you can hold this grant together with your research committee grant, the RC, because they essentially come from the same funding pot. And this here, I think Ushku on Wednesday did mention that as a rated researcher, there are specific NRF grants that you can apply for. So the first one is the CPRR, the Competitive Program for Rated Researchers, which is generally awarded to your A, B, and C's rated researchers. And I must mention that these are very competitive programs. We also have the Research Development Grant for Y-rated researchers, which is basically designed for Y-rated researchers at the NRF. But the amount is, I think it's around 300,000, and that is for the 3 years. So you get 100,000 every year. And unfortunately, you can't apply for Tutuka if you are a rated researcher. For those who don't know Tutuka, it is one of the NRF programs that is designed for early career researchers. Those are people that are completing their PhDs, those that have just completed PhDs, and so on. This is my last slide. I just wanted to share a few tips with you when you are applying, and these are coming from a more administrative role. My first advice is to start early. I think also on Wednesday mentioned this. I can't emphasize it enough. Please don't wait until the last minute to start with the application. As also mentioned, it's a tedious exercise. This will also help us here in the research office so that we can engage early with the NRF should you have any issues with the system, so that your issues can be resolved on time. My next advice will be to update your CV section first, because it can take quite a lot of your time. And there are documents that I've got in the office I can share with you on request, where He's showing you how to update your CV on NRF Connect and how to migrate your research outputs from one of the, I think one of them is LinkedIn. I'm not sure, but I can share this with you after the presentation. So it is under the CV section, there's a career history. It is very important that here you specify your role at Rhodes University, what your affiliation is. And if it's asking for, if you are on contract, I think there's a section that you can also specify when your contract ends. So let me just, so another reviewers one. Chrissy and Sue spoke a lot about this, but on the NRF system, you will find that sometimes one of the reviewers' institution is not listed on the system, and you need to request the NRF to add this on this actual system. So it's important to also do this quite early in your application, where you list your reviewers, so that you can see if one of the institutions is not available. And then you can request the NRF to add it on the system. The research output section, I just want to stress again that if you can please save them in a file, choose the 5 best, save them in a file and label them accordingly so that when you upload them on the system, they are clearly labeled. There's instruction box on every section on the NRF system. I'd just like you to please pay attention to this, as some of your questions may be answered on the instruction box. The internal deadline, we have made it the 3rd of February. That is at 4:30. But I know that people sometimes they don't, like they're busy and can't meet this deadline. If you see that you won't be able to meet it, please write to me so that I can make a note for your application. The reason why we make it quite, I think it's 2 weeks before the NRF system closes for the applicants, is that we can deal with any issues, any technical issues that you might have, because for the NRF, they're receiving queries from all institutions around SA. So we would like for them to have ample of time to actually sort out the issues with the system. And I think I've come to the end of my presentation. Just one last thing, when you click the submit button, your application is routed to our office as the designated authorities. So we screen, make recommendations, and then we submit it to the NRF. Should you want your application to be opened for amendment before it gets to the NRF, you are welcome to do that, and then we will open it for you to edit. Thank you so much.